Hello, my name is Sarai Juarez, a student at California Baptist University, and my presentation is going to be based on what effect does life stress have on academic performance. Now, a little background regarding my research question, what effect does life stress have on academic performance? Life stress is a common challenge for students dealing with personal, financial, and academic pressures. These stressors can significantly affect a student's ability to focus, manage coursework, and perform well academically. This research explores how different types of stress impact academic performance, aiming to understand the connection between stress levels and student success. By examining this relationship, the study will seek to highlight strategies for reducing stress and improving academic outcomes. For this presentation, I focused on three main objectives. The first one being to explore the factors contributing to stress among higher education students, and then the second one to examine the effects of stress on the academic performance of students. And then for the third one, to identify the strategies for maintaining a balanced level of stress among higher education students. The relationship between life stress and academic performance has been widely studied, with a growing body of literature suggesting that stress can both positively and negatively impact students' academic outcomes. Students have demonstrated that life stress can impair cognitive processes critical for academic performance, such as attention, memory, and problem-solving abilities. For instance, a study found that stress-related symptoms, including anxiety and depression, were the cause of lower academic achievement. Research also suggests that coping strategies and resilience play such a crucial role in reducing the effects of stress on academic performance. Students who use coping strategies, such as problem solving and seeking support, tend to experience less negative impact on their academic outcomes compared to those who engage in avoidance. Now, the research method I chose was interviews. The reason for that being is because this technique is direct and involves personal interaction between the researcher and the participant. Using interviews, especially for this research question, allowed me to build rapport with participants, which essentially also encouraged them to share more personal and sensitive information. Especially because this research question involves personal experiences such as family problems, financial issues, or mental health struggles, participants were able to feel more comfortable to discuss these topics in a one-on-one interview rather than a survey. Also, interviews provide the researcher with the opportunity to clarify any misunderstandings to ensure that the data collected is accurate. Now, regarding the data collection process for this assignment, I chose 3 participants who are currently college students. I provided each interviewee a copy of the questionnaire to allow themselves to get their feet wet and understand the nature of the interview. Each individual was then interviewed for a total of 10 to 15 minutes and then asked to expand on their answers. With the notes taken during the interview and the responses written on the paper from the participants, I gathered all the information to create a data analysis. And then to the right, you can see the questionnaire I provided in the interview. It had a total of 5 questions. For question 1, I decided to focus on the impact on academic performance. I asked each interviewee to give an example of a time when life stress influenced their academic performance. such as their ability to complete an assignment, attend class, or performance in exams. Participant 1 had an interesting response and responded that stress actually acted as a wake-up call. Due to weeks of procrastination, they realized they had to pull themselves together and use this sudden stress as a motivation to start prioritizing their schoolwork. When it came to participant 2, they mentioned that because of the stress from work and school, they found it difficult to stay organized and motivated. Then with participant 3, they claimed that because of the heavy workload from school and personal challenges, they began to develop stress, which made it difficult to keep up with the coursework and impaired their energy. Now, in analysis for question 1, we can see that all 3 individuals reported that life stress had an influence on their ability to manage their academic responsibilities, such as completing assignments, attending class, or performing in exams. However, we did notice that a certain amount of stress can help motivate us to work harder and perform at our best. This is actually an example of Yerkes-Dodson law, which is a study that explains how arousal stress affects performance on tasks of varying difficulty, finding that moderate arousal facilitates optimal performance, while too little or too much arousal impedes performance. In other words, a certain amount of stress can be motivating as it heightens our alertness, focus, and energy, which helps us actually to perform well, especially on tasks that require quick thinking or physical exertion. This was seen with participant 1 when they mentioned that stress actually was a wake-up call for them and used it as a motivation. Now, moving on for question 2, I focused on mental and physical health effects. I asked each interviewee how has stress in their life impacted their mental health or physical health, and how has this had any effect on their academic performance. All 3 participants had very similar effects. For instance, participant 1 explained that it mainly affected their ability to relax, which made it more hard for them to stay focused or complete their work efficiently. Then when it came to participant 2, they mentioned that there had been times when stress made them anxious or overwhelmed, causing them to have trouble sleeping or impairing their concentration and focus. Lastly, with participant 3, it was discussed that when stress is present, they have trouble sleeping, which then directly affects their ability to stay focused throughout the day and their concentration. Now, an analysis regarding question 2, the responses highlighted a strong connection between mental and physical health challenges caused by stress, such as anxiety, sleep disruptions, and fatigue, which create a cycle that stress worsens mental health and further impedes physical health, ultimately harming academic performance. All 3 respondents mentioned experiencing anxiety and trouble focusing as a result of stress. This often leads to difficulty in completing assignments, attending class, or performing well academically. For instance, respondents 1 and 2 mentioned fatigue and lack of motivation to exercise as physical impacts of stress, which further affected their ability to maintain a healthy balance between school and self-care. This can actually be more further described with the image provided to the right. On the green zone, we can see that a moderate amount of stress leads to healthy tension, increased interest, and focus. However, when we get to the yellow zone and stress reaches an optimal level, individuals tend to feel motivated, energized, and focused. And then when we get to the orange zone, it begins to impair performance. Individuals begin to feel fatigue, overwhelmed, overloaded. And then with the red zone, excessive stress leads to breakdown in performance. Moving on to question number 3, I wanted to view the comparison of stress levels. I decided to ask my participants if they feel that certain types of stress, such as personal, financial, social, affect their academic performance more than others, and why they think that is. Participant 1 explained that heavy workload and pressure stress impacts her academic performance the most. This is because the pressure to do well makes it harder to stay focused. Then for participant 2, they mentioned that financial stress tends to be the biggest impact on their academic performance, and it directly affects their focus and concentration. Moving on to participant 3, they discussed how personal stress affects their academic performance the most because personal stress makes them very worrisome and impairs their concentration. Now, an analysis for question 3, we can see that the common thread across all the responses is that no matter what stress was going on, we can see that it mainly affected focus and concentration. In the article, Protective and Damaging Effects of Stress Mediator, the author McEwen discusses the sociological effects of stress, particularly the role of cortisol in chronic stress. It basically is further explaining how prolonged exposure to cortisol impairs brain function, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, leading to difficulties in memory, focus, and even decision making. This can be actually further seen in the diagram below. Cortisol, a key stress hormone, has been shown to impair cognitive performance when levels remain elevated over time, which explains why these participants explained that their focus and concentration was impaired. Now, moving on to questions 4 and 5, I wanted to focus on how stress can be handled and the importance of support systems. That being said, I asked each participant if they have any type of support system, like friends, family, or school resources that help them manage stress and how effective it is in maintaining their academic success. In participant 1 mentioned that the huge impact friends and family are, and it allows them to recharge and encourages them to remember about self-prioritization. Then for participant 2, they mentioned that family also plays a huge role because it helps them manage stress and put things in perspective. Lastly, for participant 3, they discussed the huge impact academic resources such as tutoring and office hours has on them to help them with the workload pressure. Now, an analysis regarding question 4 and 5, we can conclude that combining both academic support with emotional support appears to be a highly effective strategy for maintaining academic success while managing stress. This dual approach helps address both the cognitive and emotional aspects of stress. For all of the participants, emotional support from family and friends appears to be very effective in managing stress, reducing anxiety, and helping them maintain focus on academic success. This support seems to help them navigate overwhelming situations and maintain a balanced approach to both their academic and personal lives. Cohen and Wills in the article Stress, Social Support, and the Buffering Hypothesis present the buffering hypothesis, which argues that social support can reduce the negative effects of stress by providing emotional comfort, resources, and a sense of belonging. This buffering hypothesis can be seen in the diagram to the right. In both graphs, as the levels of stress increase, health decreases for both groups, indicating a negative relationship between stress and health. However, the group with high social support maintains better health than the group with low social support across all levels of stress. Now, some conclusion remarks that I made after conducting this assignment and research is that academics, financial problems, and a huge workload are major stress factors. Stress is not always negative. As a matter of fact, adequate level of stress works as a motivator to strive hard and give peak performance. However, high levels of stress result in poor academic performance. This is because extreme levels of stress affect academic performance because it impairs with sleep, concentration, and motivation. And then lastly, social support can help reduce the negative effects of stress on academic performance.